Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the SBK Betting Podcast with Tom Collins and Ross Miller, who is fresh off the back of picking the Sprint Cup winner in Big Mojo. Tipped at 12-1, went off a big price, 16-1, Ross, but rode the stand-side rail. Wasn't it so weird last week at Haydock? The first few races were dominated down the middle and the far side. The going stick reading said you wanted to be stand-side. They came stand-side for the Sprint Cup and you had the winner.
Yeah, and he shot him, didn't he? I mean, we just talked before we came on. There's no standout in a division, I don't think, this year. And you watch him win that and think, given it was a sprint, he won by a good distance and he was going away. How's he not, done more this season? It is such an anomaly this season. I've been a big fan of him, like I said, from his juvenile days. I never felt he was quick enough for 5 furlongs. He was really good there. But you have to take in, he probably was on the right part of the track. I think he got a very, very good ride, and I think a few in behind perhaps didn't. But 16-1 will take that all day long, and it would be really nice to think he can kick on from here. But we've said that about every sprinter this year, so he'll probably finish mid-division next time, won't he?
Yeah, the division has been super difficult to work out. To be fair, we have to give ourselves some credit for picking the 1-2 because my selection kind of blew ran second. So hopefully a few of you followed Ross in. Maybe you did the forecast, you probably didn't, but I'm just going to say that we kind of covered the race correctly, which makes a change considering what has happened in the sprint division this year. The shortest price winner in any of the Group 1 sprints this year was Lazat. He won at Royal Ascot, I think at 9-2. Every other price winner from this Group 1 sprint division has been double figures. Very, very difficult. On Saturday, then, we have the St. Leger, the feature race, the final classic of the year. It's a good race as well, albeit it lacks the numbers with just 7 horses in there. Ross, as it is the final classic of the season, we should probably look back at the other classics and kind of sum up this whole campaign for the 3-year-olds. The 2,000 guineas was won by Ruling Court. 1,000 was won by Desert Flower. So Godolphin won both of the first 2 classics of the year. Then Minnie Hawk took the Oaks. We'll see her hopefully in the Arc. And Lambourne plundered the Derby. We'll see him in the St. Leger and talk about him in greater detail in a second. What do you make of the 3-year-olds?
Well, you sport my phone because I was going to chuck it to you and say, could you rattle off the 4 classic winners blind? Because I didn't. I'd forgotten the name of the 1,000 guineas winner. Now, you've got a really good memory for names and races, that photographic memory of yours. But it's been pretty underwhelming, hasn't it? I mean, poor old Ruling Court, he's no longer with us. Desert Flower's been on the easy list. Minnie Hawk and Whirl, was Minnie Hawk the justifiable winner, or was it a case of switch to jockeys and switch to silks and you switched the result? And then Lambourne, he looked good, but he beat Lazy Griff, who, has not won since and can't prove himself in the St. Leger. So it's pretty much underwhelming all the way through, isn't it, really? And it's desperate for something, Desert Flower to come back next year and do something, or, Minnie Hawk and Whirl to face off again in the Arc. That would be really good if they could both run there and just find something you could pin your hat on and say, that was the performance of the year. I mean, the performance of the year was Ruling Court in the 2,000 guineas because I backed him anti-post and I went in again on the day. But I don't think he was the best horse in that race. I think that was Field of Gold. He's missing. It's just been, like I said, I've just struggled all season. And 2-year-olds is where I look most of the time. I've struggled to find tangible form lines that you can sort of work off in any division. And it's just a month to Chepstow and I can't wait.
I'm sure you can't. The 3-year-olds have been kind of hit and miss this year, haven't they? And as you say, a few of them have had time on the easy list. Field of Gold is probably the best 3-year-old, colt or filly, I would suggest. But that run in the Sussex was disappointing and we haven't seen him since. So he has to go and prove it. Hopefully Minnie Hawk can run well in the Arc. Obviously, we'll probably cover the Arc in an SBK Betting Podcast nearer the time, so we won't go into that in too much detail, but she is currently the joint favourite for Aidan O'Brien. Not sure if well goes after that terrible run in the trial last week. But yeah, keep your ear to the pulse on this one because we need to find out what these 3-year-olds are like. Hopefully, we'll get a good winner in the St. Leger. And as I say, that is the feature race that we'll be covering in this podcast. There are 3 feature races we'll go into detail in before providing NAPs and next best. But before we do that, I should say that SBK has a 20% winnings boost on Saturday, not a multiples boost, a winnings boost on a specific race. And that race is the Portland Handicap, the trickiest race of the weekend. But look, you're going to get a good price. So if you can find the winner, the winnings boost will be ginormous compared to what it would usually be if you had a winnings boost on a race with a short price favourite. So I can certainly see the appeal there. It is the 225 at Doncaster on Saturday. If you do like something in the Portland, bet in that race on SBK because, as I say, more bang for your buck. SBK will pay you more as a reward. Okay, St Ledger time then, Ross. 7 runners in this year's renewal. There were only 8 after the confirmation stage. The only horse taken out was Saratoga, who was probably going to be the pace. The fact that he's been taken out, to me, suggests that Lambourne's going to go forward. They're going to lead with him, hopefully steal it like they maybe did in the Derby, but I think it'll be more solid fractions rather than just going away clear and hoping to hang on. He's your current second favourite, and the mount of Sean Levy, who won the race last year. Scandinavia's your favourite, the other Aidan O'Brien horse in this field with Tom Marquand on board, who won the St Ledger in 2020 aboard Galileo Chrome. Then you're looking at Karma's at 6-1, the Queen's Vase winner. Are you looking at one of those 3, top of the market, or are you going to go for a complete rag?
No, I did take a good poke at the complete rags to see if I could make a tentative argument, and they're not completely out of it. But I've gone towards the head of the market. We should just confirm this is being run at Doncaster. They're not running it at Ballydoyle. Scandinavia, he is the right favourite, isn't he? You know, he's looked really good in his last 2 starts. Beat Illinois 3/4 of a length. I'm not sure Illinois is quite as good as you'll want to be. And Scandinavia was getting a stone off him. And I just watched it back and I wondered whether if over a mile 6, would he have been as impressive? He sort of looked to me like he needs the 2 miles. Prior to that, he beat a horse of the ball. He's called Nighttime Dancer, 8 lengths in a Group 3 over a mile 5. That's a name that just worth remembering when it comes to my selection. So he is the right favourite. I just wonder whether he's going to be quite quick enough at a short price. I wanted to look elsewhere. Lambourne was the Derby winner. He was going to be my selection for this until his run in the Great Vulture. I was really, really disappointed by it. I know it might have been a prep, but he struggled to lay up with a slow early pace. He showed no gear change. And I also thought, contrary to his run at Epsom, I think he didn't put up much of a fight either. I was just wholly underwhelmed by it. And I think if you're backing him, you are just backing blind. Aidan O'Brien is the best trainer in the world. He is happy with what he was doing there, and the horse is going to step forward. So actually, the horse that come down on is Karma's. He finished second in the Great Vulture. They went slow early on. He was at the back of the field. He was badly positioned, and he came under the pump. When they quickened, he was first to struggle to go through the gears and was needing a lot of driving. And as a result, he couldn't find the gaps that he needed. Had to come quite wide. Finished second behind Pride of Arras. Now, Pride of Arras, he's a strange horse, but maybe, just maybe, he's very, very good at York. He won over 10 furlongs there earlier in the season. I just wouldn't be completely dismissive of that line of form. And given that Pride of Arras had 10 furlong form, the fact they had to quicken, he was probably more adept at doing that from a similar position than Karma's. Karma stayed on really well. He's got good form overstaying trips. And prior to the run in the Great Vulture, he beat a horse called Further by a length at Royal Ascot in the Queen's Vase. Further has since beaten Nighttime Dancer by about 6 lengths. It just gives an idea that Karma's form does tie in with Scandinavia. And given that I've got concerns about whether Scandinavia is going to be quite as adept over this 1 mile 6 as opposed to 2 miles, and I slightly question the form against Illinois, given the amount of weight he was getting, and Illinois being a bit disappointing, I'll go with them at a price, but it'll be my smallest sort of win bet. But I think he's a good horse.
Interesting, yeah. Karma's then for Paddy Toomey and I believe Billy Lee. Yes, around 5-1 at the time of recording. I may have said 6-1 earlier, but he has been trimmed in the last hour or two. He's drawn in gate 4. Not that the draw should really make much of a difference over this trip in a small field at Donny. I'm going to play a contradictory role here, and I'm going to go for Scandinavia. And I kind of like him for plenty of reasons. Firstly, I like the jockey booking, Tom Marquand. I like the fact that actually Lambourne's in the field because he will go at a decent gallop, and that should suit Scandinavia. And I also think he should be 4 from 4 this year. He was beaten by Karma's in the Queen's Vase, and you were absolutely correct to say that Karma's form stacks up well. Not only is he beating Lambourne, but he's also beating Karma's, he's beaten Further, etc. The thing with Scandinavia in the Queen's Vase is he sat a 3 to 4 wide trip throughout the whole race. And then when he was under the pump, turning for home, he got forced even wider. Yet, if you watch that final 100 yards, he is the strongest finisher. And you've got to bear in mind that Karma's is an extremely strong stayer. He is gutsy, game, and he will keep going. So the fact that I think Scandinavia was making ground up on Karma's late, And he sat that wide trip, which was obviously inefficient and caused him to use energy at the wrong parts of the race. To me, suggested that Scandinavia was the best in there. Subsequently, come out, he's won 2 races. Newmarket Contest was just basically a one-horse race. He absolutely bolted up. And then, okay, I completely agree with what you're saying about Illinois. The pro to that is he's faced his elders and he's beaten his elders, and no other horse in this race has ever really done that. So I think you've got to kind of put a feather in the cap of Scandinavia for that feat. Now, at this stage, he is no world beater, but at least he's done more than the others. And for me, I'm happy to take Scandinavia at the prices. I would kind of like to see a really good display, whether it be Karma's, Scandinavia, or Lambourne, just to get the juices flowing ahead of next year with this staying crop. But yeah, Scandinavia for me in what is otherwise looking likely to be an Irish battle between Paddy Toomey and Aidan O'Brien. Talking of Ireland, we're going to move on to Leopardstown because it's really good racing over in Ireland this weekend. On Saturday is the Irish Champion Stakes. That's the race we're going to talk about. And Christoph Simeon has stayed in Ireland for Aidan. He's not come over to ride one of the St. Leger horses. He's going to partner Delacroix in this contest, and he is your favourite at around 6-4 or 7-4 at the time of recording on Friday morning. This is an interesting race, though, Ross, isn't it? Because it's not a one-horse contest. Anne Mart's in here, Japanese challenger Shin Emperor, White Birch, Zaran. What are your thoughts?
I'll start with the question. How do you like the jockey booking for Delacroix? Does it not make you a bit jumpy that could just be one of those ones that he just sits a bit pretty on him and doesn't get it done? And then my next question, I went back and watched it. So Delacroix, when he won the Eclipse at Sandown, quickened up really, really well from a very poor position. Like the thing that was so take away about it was how he quickened. Then he went and ran in that very muddling race last time, where the pacemaker went off like a scalded cat. Okay, Delacroix lost track position or sacrificed track position, took back against him. And then Omnisman chased down the runaway pacemaker and showed a better turn of foot. And it only dawned on me this morning that Aidan O'Brien sort of slightly bemoaned the race tactics, but he had the best change of foot in the Eclipse. So why couldn't he do that again last time? It's just really made me question whether, again, like we've said, or we want him to be better than he actually is. For that reason, the jockey booking and the price, I just want to look elsewhere. For all that he is getting quite a valuable £6 from the elders, I've come down on White Birch. I'm praying that the rain will come. They've had 5 mils today. They reckon they get another 5 mils tomorrow, and then the weekend is changeable. Let's hope it's Irish changeable, which means it's going to bucket down. White Birch, other than his debut, he's unbeaten on ground that's slower than good. He beat Auguste Rodin over course and distance in the Tatzel's Gold Cup last year. Auguste Rodin, I would suggest, is a better horse than Delacroix. If the ground goes soft, he likes the track. He arrives here fresh. So the Racing Post said it's been very fragile to train. I don't think that's quite accurate. I think they've been very, very protective of him on livelier ground. They've kept him back from the autumn campaign. Delacroix's had a busy enough season. I just quite like White Birch, and the more I looked, the more I liked him, particularly if the rain comes. If the rain comes soft, he'd probably be my biggest bet of the weekend, I should think.
I like that. Yeah, White Birch is 13-2 currently best price with SBK. So yeah, he's an interesting runner, and there are 8 horses in this field. So each way selection here, or would you actually play just win only?
Given the ground is how it is, let's say each way. But honestly, the more the rain comes, the more confident I'd be that he'd beat them all.
Yeah, they're going right now at Leopardstown. Again, on Friday morning at 10:50 a.m. is when we're recording this. It's described as soft, yielding in places. Yielding to soft in places, sorry. So there is more rain forecast. The deeper it gets, the better for White Birch. I agree with your synopsis kind of the jockey booking on Delacroix. And also last time I was with him. I think you were with him as well at York. And I was a little bit underwhelmed. For all that he ran an okay race, I did think he was more than capable of beating Ombudsman. He showed that at Sandown. But yeah, he was a little bit lackluster. So at the prices, I wanted to look elsewhere as well. Anmart is a horse that I have a soft spot for, and I've tipped him many times in the past, including at Royal Ascot this year. He always runs his race. He would relish soft ground in this spot too. But again, a bit of a question mark with the jockey booking. Jim Crowley out with a pelvis and leg injury. So Chris Hayes takes the ride there. Shin Emperor probably doesn't want the ground super deep. He represents the brilliant Yoshito Yahagi, who's done phenomenally well across the world with his shippers, but obviously in Japan primarily. I ended up coming down on Zaran, a 3-year-old in this spot. I did look at White Birch, I have to admit. They're about the same price, around 13 to 2 at the time of recording. Zaran just seems to be improving, and the horse that beat him at Royal Ascot, Amalok, is super talented. We're about to talk about him in the next race, the Irish St. Leger, that's on Sunday. But I think that form was solid. Zaran then came out and won decisively at a ridiculous price. He should have been way shorter, should have been your favourite in that contest. He's got so much upside, but he does need to improve. That is the one thing that I'm hoping happens. But I think it's factored into his price at 13 to 2. So I will take Zaran in what is a pretty good and deep contest, providing all 8 stand their ground. I should also say there are Group 2 races on this card at Leopardstown, 2 of them, including the KPMG Champions Juvenile Stakes, which usually produces a really nice 2-year-old. A couple of Group 3s, a listed race as well. So Leopardstown on Saturday is red hot. So is Curragh on Sunday. That is another fantastic card. Ross, this race is tricky to me because everyone's going to look at Illinois and go, well, he's the solid horse. But is he not like Los Angeles in disguise? A horse that's always towards the top of the market, a horse that always runs his race, but is rarely good enough to beat the better contenders in his division. Al Riffa is your second favourite, and then Amalok is third in. Are you against Illinois like I am?
Absolutely, TC. I looked at this at the start of the week, and I thought it was actually quite straightforward. And I just thought Amalok's going to win this. He's a really good horse, and he'll be a price because he's consistently underrated. And I just went and watched back his run last time over a mile 4, and we all have punting strengths and weaknesses, and often your strength is your weakness. I tend to look at how the horse finishes his race off, and I've just talked myself into the fact that you just watch the last 4 or 5 strides. The head starts to dip a little bit, and I've just convinced myself that he was coming to the end of his tether over a mile and 4. And he can race behind the bridle. He can also race enthusiastically. I think if you back him, you want to see him race a bit behind the bridle and save a bit. I just worry about this trip for him. And so I've switcherood to Al Riffa. Now, I should say, I think pretty much every time I've switched to Rood this year, I've done the wrong thing. So take that as pre-warned. But I like Al Riffa, and I've liked him for a long time. I think he's a talented horse. And I think he took his form to another level last time, over a mile and 6. Now, he beat Shackleton, who is by no means in the top rank at Cornwall. He's rated 105. He gave him £11. He beat him 5 lengths. He could have beaten him further if he'd have been asked to. I thought it was a really dominant display. He's 3 from 5 at the Curragh. He's finished runner-up on the twice he hasn't won. He was second to Rebels Romance in the Hardwick. I think that's really good form. He was staying on, again, hand over fist over that mile and 4 trip. He was second last year to, what's the name of the horse? City of Troy in the Eclipse. That's good form. Okay, City of Troy perhaps didn't perform. He's only a length behind him. I just think he's really tough, really consistent. He's a Group 1 winner in Germany. There's no issue with the trip here. And I think the harder they go, the better he'll go. I think he could be a cup horse if they kept him in training next year. So I became more confident about him the more I looked, which probably means Amalok wins.
Yeah, Al Riffa then for Ross. I actually saw this horse in Saudi earlier this year in January, and Yutaki Taki was on board. Obviously, he has a very good connection with the owner, Yutaki Taki, but I did feel like the Japanese rider, who is probably past his best, I don't think that's controversial in saying, was the downfall for Al Riffa on a couple of occasions. Now they've gone to Dylan Brown McMonagle, and he seems to be producing better displays again. So I can certainly see the case for Al Riffa. And actually, of the 2 at the top of the market, I definitely prefer him to Illinois. So I can certainly see where you're coming from. I'm going to be with Amalok, which is probably good news for you, just in case one of us can pick the winner of this contest. And you kind of have both areas covered here with Amalok and Al Riffa. I think this horse is super talented. As I say, I like Zaran in the Champion Stakes, so why wouldn't I like Amalok in the Irish St. Leger? He is a proper horse. He's a gelding, so he gets to run here, which is really nice for Rafe Beckett and the team. And Beckett's horses this time of year, I keep saying it, they are starting to come alive. They will, virtually all of them are going to start to run career best or season's best at the very least. And I think Amalok will be part of that party, despite the fact that earlier this year he was phenomenal when other Rafe Beckett horses weren't performing. So I'm going to be with Amalok, but it's a very, very good race. I should also say that SBK has a 20% multiples boost on Sunday. That goes along with the winnings boost for the Portland offer on Saturday. So if you do want to play in the Irish St. Leger, as well as any other race at the Curragh and elsewhere in the UK, then make sure you do it with SBK to grab that boost. T&Cs do apply And you can check out all the promotions on the SBK app. Okay, then, Ross, it's Nap and Next Best time. Where are we going this week?
We're going Sunday to the Curragh for the NAP, the 240 de Moyglare Stud Stakes. Carl Burke trained Venetian Sun. She's unbeaten. She won the Albany in good form. She then went to Newmarket. Was maybe a little bit underwhelming, but the form has been frank. The runner-ups come out and won a group race since. And then last time out, she went to France and beat the boys in the Prix-Morny. I was really impressed with her. I was just really taken by her professionalism. She went through the race like an old handicapper. She picks up the bridle, but she doesn't pull. She switched out. She quickened up smartly. She got to the front. I think she then saves a little bit for herself. She beat Gustard. Now, Gustard is favourite for the Vincent O'Brien National Stakes on Sunday over the extra furlong. He's odds-on favourite against the Colts. She's already beaten him. I think the Ballydoyle Colts are better than the Ballydoyle Fillies, and yet she's not odds-on. I think she should be. She's got to go into their backyard. That's the one thing that you sort of always worry about. But Carl Burke went there 2 years ago with Fallen Angel and got it won. I think she's comfortably the best filly in this field. She's £3 clear on ratings. I think the harder they go, the better she'll go. I think she'll stay this trip. That's the one slight concern. I wouldn't be completely sold on her saying the Guineas trip, but I think how she finished off her race in France last time and particularly at Ascot, I think she'll stay this 7 furlong trip. I think she's going to take all the beating, provided she gets a fair crack at it.
Yeah, then interesting.
Should I go next best?
Yeah, go for the next best.
Next best. Now, you said this is the tricky race of the weekend. I've got a really strong fancy in this in the Portland, the 225 on Saturday. The Kevin Philippart de Foy trained Diablo Rojo. Now, Kevin Philippart de Foy has done a really good job parachuting into Freemason Lodge partway through the season. 21% strike rate. He's pretty much won the race he's meant to win. He's improved some horses that have shown moderate form at the start of the year. Diablo Rojo's got quite a nice profile. He won at Lingfield on his seasonal return. That looked like a prep into the season. He was then runner-up in a Commonwealth Cup trial behind Big Mojo. Then went to the Commonwealth Cup, and I thought he'd run quite a big race, and he absolutely bombed out. Finished last, but he finished lame. Hasn't been seen since. He went into the Commonwealth Cup rated 105. He's got £2 back from the handicap. He's rated 103. Big Mojo, who was about half a length ahead of him in that trial, is rated 117 as a Group 1 winner. He's got to show that he's ready to go after a layoff and he's going to be sharp enough. But he could just be absolutely chucked in here, given the trainer's in good form and clearly seems to have adapted very quickly to the new training role. I like him a lot. So he's the next best in the 225, which is the Portland with the boost.
Yeah, exactly. If you do like Diablo Rojo and want to follow Ross in, then make sure you do it with SBK so you get that boost. And there's obviously the Nap runs on Sunday, Venetian Sun. She's probably the best 2-year-old this year. I think you agree with that one, Ross. So hopefully she can go on and win and be the horse that we're really looking forward to ahead of next season. Because right now, I have a very short list of horses that I'm looking forward to when it comes to March time. I imagine that's the same for you, right?
Really short list. I'm desperate for something to come out and just show itself to be head and shoulders. I actually put up Tulane for the 1,000 Guineas. I was really impressed by her in the middle of the week because I thought Danzos was a really smart filly. She maybe was a bit keen, but she got kicked out the way by Tulane. Owen Burrows, probably the most underrated flat trainer in the country. I think he consistently gets the job done, doesn't get spoken about. She's 20-1 for the 1,000 Guineas. I couldn't believe she wasn't shorter. So she's actually been an anti-post selection this week.
Yeah, interesting. We also saw the relative of Baid and Hookham win on debut at Ascot, who's another one to look forward to next season. I do forget the name, but I think it's Rahib, maybe. So, yeah, Shadwell seemed to have a couple of nice ones anyway. My nap this week is going to come on Saturday, as will my next best. And it's at Doncaster in the 150, the Champagne, and it's a horse called Go On or G1 if you want to use commentators' line, but I think it's Go On, just purely because I like shouting it. This big grey colt impressed me on the debut at Newbury, albeit it wasn't the best of maidens. Hasn't overly worked out. The third has won twice since, but no other horse in the race has really taken a step forward. Then he went to the Acomb. Now, I watched the Acomb back numerous times. We covered it, I believe, or at least I did on the podcast with a selection. And I thought there were plenty of reasons for for giving a couple of horses in behind. And for that reason, you would say, well, maybe the form isn't legitimate and maybe horses were flattered. Go on being one of them because he won the race. But he was super strong throughout the whole contest, travelled well, kicked clear, hit the line powerfully. I can't really take away from his performance because he was great. He just didn't have the horses to beat that we thought he had to beat. If he can take another step forward, considering he's already earned an official rating of 110, he should win this race, the Champagne. There are some nice ones in there. Oxagon ran it in a great maiden first time up that's worked out brilliantly. He finished fifth and then went to Sandown and won since. There are other horses that have plenty of upside, but Gowan has already proven that he has the caliber to win a Champagne. The average official rating or RPI you need to win a Champagne over the last 10 years is 113.7. He's already rated 110, so a £3 improvement would grant him victory here unless there is a horse that's way above average, and I don't think there is. So I'm with Gowan. Here's my nap in the Champagne. My next best is slightly more left field at Chester in the 323. There's a horse called Hanny Girl. I was on the Sky Sports studios when this horse ran last time. I believe it was Ripon, and she went straight to the front with immense gate speed. She grabbed the rail, which is where you want to be at Ripon. She kicked clear, and the only thing that I took out of the race was that she didn't even have to change leads until the final half a furlong. And as soon as she did, her ears pricked. There was so much left in the tank. She won in a style of a real good, well-handicapped 2-year-old. And she's only gone up £9 in the weights. This contest at Chester, it basically is determined by who makes the front. And considering her gate speed at Ripon, she's drawn 6, but I'm hoping she'll bang straight out the gates, grab the rail, and dictate from there. So Hanny Girl in the 323 at Chester is my next best. Plans for this weekend, Ross?
Stood in a sandpit coaching riders in the pouring rain in West Wales by the looks of things. So not that glamorous this weekend, TC.
Yeah, not as good as Czech Republic, that for all that. Wales is a lovely place. This is a rare Saturday in for me, so I'll be watching all the racing, including the action on Saturday evening in Canada, Woodbine. That's where William Buick will be. Charlie Appleby may actually be there as well because they run several really nice horses, including Notable Speech, who goes in the Woodbine Mile. The chances of him winning are pretty high. Not quite sure what price is on the morning line. Do need to study that between now and the race. But they're using this as a prep for the Breeders' Cup. So make sure you watch Woodbine on Saturday evening. A reminder that SBK has a 20% winnings boost on the Portland on Saturday, the 225 at Doncaster. And they also have a 20% multiples boost on Sunday. Minimum 4 legs to qualify for that. T's and C's apply. Go and check them out on the SBK app. If you did enjoy this podcast, down below on YouTube, please click the thumbs up. That gives us a like and tells us that you enjoyed it. Subscribe as well to SBK so that you don't miss out on any future content, podcasts, anything that Ross does regarding the jump season. Make sure you subscribe to SBK and put a comment down below with any horses you like on Saturday. Maybe your opinion on the 3-year-old crop this year or horses that you're looking forward to next campaign. Thank you very much for watching the SBK Betting Podcast this week, and we'll see you again in 7 days' time. Goodbye.